ready? All right, you got audio? Over here? Good.
There ain't no sunshine.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start off the final candidate interview today for Veterans in Politics, sponsored by the Rhythm Kitchen Restaurant, Real Water, Ron Q. Keeling, candidate for Nevada State Senate District 9, Mike Angel, Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services. We would invite the public down here. We are at Rhythm Kitchen, not far from Decatur and Russell on Decatur, and planning on being here for the rest of the day. At this time, I would like to ask George Shahada to give our invocation.
Stand. Dear Lord, we are so thankful that a school massacre was averted in Minnesota this past week. It just goes to show how desperately we need you back in our schools. We also need you back in our government. Help us be a God-fearing nation where the quote, "in God we trust," is not just on our currency, but on our hearts and in our actions. Our kids, Lord, need a healthy fear and reverence of you, so perhaps they will think twice about shooting other kids, their teachers, and even themselves. Lord, we pray that our government officials at every level will call upon you like the founding fathers of our nation did, as George Washington did, as Abraham Lincoln did, who would spend his first 2 hours of his morning on his face before you, God. We pray, Lord, that the candidates that are here today are people who walk with integrity and honesty, who can't be bought, given to compromise or corruption. We want people in our government, Lord, who will stand in the gap for the American people, for the people of Nevada, and for our communities. And Father, I can't finish this prayer without always remembering our men and women in uniform all over the world who have given and are giving their lives, their blood, and their hearts for our country and for our freedoms. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you, George. The flag is hanging on the banner behind us all. If you'd all please place your hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Our cameraman today is George Shahada. Thank you, George. And I'd like to introduce our 12 panel members. Are you going to swing the camera around to introduce them all? How's that going to work?
Yeah, we could.
We are swinging. Okay. I can't see the names. I've got a list here, so if you'd all wave when I mention your name. Rowena Griffithon is the founder of Sunshine Family Foundation.
Shine.
Shine, not Sunshine. Shine Family Foundation. Thank you. Ryan Beshant, U.S. Army veteran, president of Fallen Not Forgotten. Amber Gelman. Jay Giraldi. And Green. Giraldi. Dr. Daniel Dubrett. John Shute Jr. He's a Metro officer. Tom Blanchard, a naval veteran and president of Veterans Real Estate. Melissa Broadway. Melissa's a political consultant. Mike Angel is the founder of Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services. Dr. Jasmine Brooks, who is both a medical doctor and an attorney in Nevada. Michael Mazur, who is an attorney in Nevada, And Karen Steelman is the Auxiliary Director of Veterans and Politics. Our first set of candidate interviews today is for candidates for Nevada governor. And we have 6 people RSVP, 4 people here so far. We'll introduce them in just a moment, but before I do, I would like to run through the interview guidelines for our panel of questioners today. We will be adhering to a strict schedule. I'll detail that in the coming bullet points here. This is not a debate, candidates. There'll be no redirect questions. This is an interview. Candidates are allowed a 1.5-minute introduction. Panelists are given 30 seconds to pose their question. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond. Panelists need to pose their questions to only one candidate. The only kind of question that can be posed to all candidates is one that is answered in a yes/no fashion. If time allows, we will take questions from members of the audience and or the panel. We'll ask additional questions beyond the initial question. Complex questions that require too lengthy an answer will be disqualified. And finally, this is not a forum to air personal grievances. So our first interview today is candidates for Nevada governor. We're joined by 4 candidates: Stephen Frye, Ed Hamilton, Chris Hyepock, and Bill Tarbell. We'll start with the introductory statements from candidates, I guess in the order of which you're sitting by me. So, Mr. Hamilton, if you would begin.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, and first of all, my name is Eddie in Liberty Hamilton. I'm a Republican. My name will be listed first on the ballot. Eddie in Liberty Hamilton. And first of all, I want to congratulate the VIPI panelists to be involved in this. The press, the mainstream media has boycotted, has a blackout in the governor candidate forum. It's a shame. It's a travesty, and I think VIPI is doing citizens' work. So they're to be commended. This is the only panel in the whole country that I know of. I am a conservative, grassroots, Republican, constitutional candidate choice for governor of Nevada. And we have a strong polling showing. Governor Sandoval is staying away from everything. The man is celebrating the Mexican holiday today, celebrating another nation's independence instead of being with Americans. So that's a shame. And I will talk about my plans later on. And again, my name is Hamilton, first on the ballot. Thank you.
Next, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Hyepock. Thank you so much for hosting this. I'm a working class individual. I'm a father. I'm a husband. And at the end of the day, I'm a veteran. I'm a Nevadan. And I'm here today to run for governor here in Nevada. I've been campaigning for over 8 months. I started this 3 years ago because I feel we deserve better than what we've been handed over the years. I don't believe right now playing politics is getting the job done that we deserve as a state. We look at our economics, businesses are not relocating here because we're D-minus an integrity state, we're D in spending transparency, we're not fiscally responsible, we barely balance the budget, and we don't manage tax dollars fairly. We have a poor education system. Those things alone does not keep businesses coming here. They go to Utah. Boeing, Goodman, eBay, Adobe Software the last 3 years. 2 businesses went to Texas, Wyoming, Delaware. Not once have we got a job here, except Harley Davidson down the street. We deserve better quality education, quality workforce, quality pay. I'm here today to represent everybody across the state as an individual, as someone that feels like we need to put politics aside and move ahead. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this session. Thank you.
Dr. Stephen Frye, medical doctor, former professor at our own University of Nevada School of Medicine in Reno. I want to thank Steve for putting together such a handsome firing squad. Never have I faced such a beautiful firing squad. It's a pleasure to be here today. Governor Brian Sandoval is the worst governor in the nation. I was at a meet and greet up in Carson City last week with a dozen beautiful Democrats. I am a Democrat. And I was telling them how we have the worst education in the nation, the worst hospitals in the nation, the worst nursing home in the nation, the worst public health in the nation. So this beautiful 75-year-old lady says to me, Dr. Frye, we must have the worst governor. I said, why didn't I think of that? That's absolutely correct. That's why I'm running for governor. I don't need a job. I'll take a 50% cut in pay if I get elected. My bucket list is finished. All I ever wanted to be was a doctor, and I was. Then later in my career, I wanted to be a professor at the medical school, and I was. 14 years ago, I became an activist for marijuana because I was prescribing it to patients that nothing else was working for, failed back operations, and the doctor will tell you they happen often. So I became a marijuana activist. And 14 years ago, people called me the crazy pot doctor. And then 2 years ago, when I ran for Congress, I was the quirky doctor. And now John Ralston calls me a man ahead of his time, a visionary. We need legal marijuana in the state of Nevada to fund our education, to begin to fund our education. We are 50th. Companies do not come to Nevada because we do not have a good workforce. We have the lowest number of college education in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And our fourth candidate, Bill Tarbell.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I am a lifelong Republican and was very actively engaged in the last presidential campaign in Washoe County. I looked over the situation for several months before finally coming to the point where I decided to file and run in this race. Some of the persons to my right have already outlined concerns that I have about our present governor's performance. I believe, personally, that a conservative, Republican approach to leadership in the state is needed. That is why I'm running. I happen to be what I would call a citizen candidate, a person who has spent his lifetime in service to people all over the United States, especially here in the West. I know the West well. I believe Nevada deserves leadership which will help them find vision and purpose for the future. That's my intention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. I guess let's start the panel question with Mr. Blanchard.
Okay, Mr. Tarbell, can you give me 3 things about you that would make you a better candidate than the rest of the crowd here?
Dedication and passion. I can't speak to these gentlemen to my right, nor to other candidates, but I do know my own self. And that is I'm dedicated to leading the people in a direction which will help this state in the long run as well as the near term. That means cooperating with every element in the state. And that's another strength of mine. Cooperation, listening, understanding, weighing in the balance, and doing it objectively without any regard to particular interests. Thirdly, I think I can speak clearly about issues as I'm trying to do now. I believe I can do that well and be a spokesperson for this state. That's 3.
Okay, Mike, Angel?
Hello. This is just no question to all parties. Do you support the proposed teachers' unions tax on businesses grossing $1 million?
I am totally opposed to it, simply because the propaganda is saying that only 13% will be affected. The 13% are employers with employees, so they're going to end up laying them off. The other 87% only have 1 or 2 people working, so it's a misguided propaganda, and so that thing should be voted down. What we need is a rising tide. One president, a century ago says, a rising tide will lift all boats. In other words, tax revenue will go up if the economy is growing, and I have a plan, a silver bullet solution to increase tourism here by invoking the power of the 26th Amendment. Thank you.
So I remind candidates when a question is directed to all candidates, that's a yes/no answer. Sorry.
Oh. Yes, I am.
I'm in favor of legalized marijuana as a much better solution to fund our education. I'm in favor of legalized. I don't take a position on this. It's too controversial. It divides all our unions and it doesn't solve any problems. We need to be together, not apart.
We're talking about the educational initiative, some people call it Martin's tax. Everywhere I've been in the state, small businesses are terrified. At this point, I have to say I oppose it.
Can y'all hear me, or am I just like
A little low.
I'm hearing myself?
The microphone's a little bit low.
I'll try to be louder. Our third question is going to be posed by Amber.
This question is for candidate Hyepock. What, briefly, is quality education in your eyes? Because I'm a mother of 3 children going to school in Clark County. And also, how do you propose specifically that's funded?
Well, I do agree with the margin tax for now. For 3 years, it's only 2%, but after 3 years, we can go back to it and change it to 1%. For over 20 years, we've taken this situation to the session in Congress or legislation, and it keeps getting voted down to fund our education properly. You get what you put into it. I don't believe that we have funded early childhood education enough. We don't, 70% of our kids don't go to preschool out here. Kindergarten's not mandatory. Only handfuls all day kindergarten. They don't evaluate the kids till 3rd grade. 4th grade, 70% of our kids are not reading proficiently. We have the #1 dropout rate in the nation. I feel we're failing them in 4th grade, now in high school. But they're playing catch up through all these elementary years to middle school. By the time they hit middle school, they lose their interest, they lose their confidence. And hey, I'm 21, a couple of years, I can go work at the casino. I'm almost 18, I can go play on the pole. That's what it's coming down to. And we just have to focus on early childhood education. I feel like that's where we're failing.
Thank you. Our next panelist is
Melissa Broadway. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My question is for William Tarbell. What is your position on raising minimum wage?
That's a complicated question. It really is. If we raise well, let's put it this way, if the federal government raises the minimum wage, then we are going to have to oblige. If we raise it within the state, that's another matter entirely, although it still affects all of us in the state. The question is, what is the impact going to be on business, on the people who provide the jobs? Some people are calling it a negative move. Others think it's necessary for the sake of people who are working out there. At this point, I would have to say that I'm not quite sure where I'd come down. I'd have to look at all the factors before I decided to support it.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Our next question will be posed by Jay Giraldi.
There it is.
Giraldi.
Giraldi. Yes, this question is for Eddie Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton, give me one idea that you haven't mentioned yet that you would look to implement to help increase the, give a boost to the economy as far as jobs, something like that.
Thank you for the question. This is my forte. I have a silver bullet solution for Nevada. Guess what? It's in the Constitution of the United States. As governor, using my pen, I can issue a proclamation without anybody's approval except the United States Constitution, by way of the 10th Amendment, which is states' rights, and by way of the 26th Amendment that was passed during the war in Vietnam. When 18-year-old is the age of anticipation, the idea at that time is that if you can get shot in Vietnam, you can get a shot of whiskey at home. So I'm not proposing drinking. I'm saying as governor, I could lower the age of admission to nightclubs, day clubs, DJ scenes, EDM, electronic dance music. These are big money-making scene on the Strip. On the Strip, the DJ scenes create $950 million a year alone. Without raising taxes, without doing anything, it could happen just like that tomorrow. So that's what I will do. I will issue a proclamation. 5 million more people will come to Nevada by estimate, creating all kinds of opportunities. 30,000 people, jobs, and additionally, with my background in manufacturing engineering, I plan to build assembly plants in Nevada. Thank you.
Our next question will be posed by Rowena Griffin.
This question is for Dr. Frye. What experience have you had that qualifies you to become an elected office holder?
I owe you a drink. That's the perfect question. Thank you so much. I'm a medical doctor, a former professor in our medical school. I've written a book on legalizing drugs. I ran a Department of Mental Health with 120 employees and a $6 million budget for 4 years. So I know how to do executive functioning. Many of our problems in this state are medical. We have the worst hospitals, the worst nursing homes, the worst psychiatric system in the nation. When Sandoval started, 1 out of 3 of our hospitals are unaccredited. Now 2 out of 3 of our mental hospitals are unaccredited, which means not only substandard care, it means we cannot bill Medicare and Medicaid for federal reimbursement. As a medical doctor and psychiatrist, I know how to fix these things, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next question will be posed by Dr. Danielle Dubret.
Yes, Common Core was a brainchild of governors. That's a question for all of you. Are you for it or against it?
Sorry, what was that again?
Common Core, are you for it or against it?
I'm absolutely against it. It's a Soviet-style standard, top-down from Washington. The destruction of
Yes,
Earth.
no. That's yes, no.
No.
Thank you.
I am against Common Core.
As it is supported by our legislature and the NSEA, at this time I am for it.
In its present form, with its present provisions, I have to say no, I don't support it.
Okay. Our next question will be posed by Michael Mazur.
This question is for all candidates. Do you support a continuation of the jobless aid bill that's being proposed currently?
The unemployment insurance?
Correct.
Okay, I'm opposed to the way it is now. Without reform, is this a bottomless pit? Because the longer you are out of work, the less likely you'll be hired. You need training, your skill will be gone in 6 months. You need
Yes,
training.
Yes, no.
No.
I am for whatever helps the people, and so I'm for that, yes.
It's a federal issue, so I'm not sure that the governor has a lot to do with it, but I am for it, yes.
I am provisionally against it unless I can see definite advantage.
Our next question will be posed by Dr. Jasmine Brooks.
This question is for Mr. Tarbell. We are, as a former general surgeon, we have been in a significant crisis for a shortage of doctors and even more so for surgeons. How would you propose to improve the health care in Nevada, and what is your proposal to bring more doctors to the state of Nevada?
Within the powers that I would have constitutionally as governor, I could bring about some incentives, hopefully, to attract doctors. The man to my right was talking about the medical care system in the state. It sounds as if the improvement of the system itself would be one way to help attract persons, lead them to come here. I'm not quite sure what other actions I could take as governor. I'd have to look at them. But most certainly I would want to find the best qualified persons we can attract to this state for that purpose.
Thank you. Next question will be posed by Brian Bouchant.
Hi, you guys doing? Thank you very much for coming. This is just a yes or no. Do you think we should increase taxes on the wealthy to compensate for the ones that don't make as much? You can go first.
No. But is it yes or no?
Yeah, it's yes or no.
Yeah, no.
No, sir.
We need to tax marijuana, hemp, and cigarettes, not the wealthy.
No.
Okay, our next question will be posed by John Shute Jr.
This question is for Dr. Frye. Your last question you answered was regarding the unemployment insurance. You said you weren't going to touch it because it was a federal issue, yet you're so in support of marijuana legalization. In regards to the fact that there's no controlling level for THCs out on the street, no regard for the gateway effect, numerous university studies, including the most recent Northwestern University study showing that even recreational use is showing abnormalities in brain use. How do you still support that as legalization?
I really want to thank you for that question also. Marijuana is the safest over-the-counter prescription or recreational drug in history. When I talk to doctors and medical students, I tell them I'll give them $50, and that shows you how long I've been talking about this. Now it would be $500. Show me one case of death by marijuana alone. Hundreds die by aspirin, ibuprofen, and Tylenol all the time. The study you are referring to is another government propaganda study paid for by the ONDCP. It is not factual. Everybody that knows people that have been smoking marijuana for years know they don't have these problems. It is safe. It is now a states' rights issue as of Colorado and Washington. The federal government is keeping their hands off because it's anti-commandeering. They cannot go in. So if we legalize like Colorado and Washington, we will have the tax benefit, hundreds of millions a year to fund our education. It is, I'm not recommending that people do it that don't want to do it. But everybody that wants marijuana now can buy it. The only question is, do we fund cartels or do we fund education? Thank you for the great question.
You managed to fit that in 60 seconds.
I've been doing this a long time.
Final scheduled question from our panel will be posed by Karen Steelman.
I'll pass, please.
Okay, then panelists, I think we're going to make another round through the panel because we have time to do so. So think of your second question and we will thrust into the spotlight Tom Blanchard.
Well, let's just allow this real quick. Give me one, I'll go out down the line, same thing. One reason why you're the best candidate.
I have executive experience. The governor's office is not a legislative office, it's an action office.
One thing.
But, oh yes, I have a manufacturing expertise. I want to build plants in Nevada. However, like La Carney, only 7% belong to us, so we got to get it back from the federal government. And we should have had that 150 years ago. You can't live on a 93% of the land.
So your answer is a manufacturer.
I feel like I can relate to everyone across the board. I'm a father, I'm a husband, hardworking citizen, and I can relate with the working class individuals. I've had my own business, I can relate to that. I lost a house 5 years ago, I can relate to people that lost their homes, and I restructured my life, and today I'm upon you to be that leader, to bring you guys up like I brought myself up.
I am a medical doctor, former professor and educator at our own University of Nevada School of Medicine. I'm an expert in gifted education, and nobody talks about that. We need to have every fourth high school be a gifted high school, not just bring up the bottom. We have to do that also. But if we're going to have a future generation of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey and Cesar Chavez, we have to have gifted education to really bring this state back up to where it needs to be. And as a medical doctor, I'm the most qualified to solve so many of these medical problems.
Perhaps my greatest strength is experience, on-the-ground experience, being there with people who are facing pressures of all kinds, federal regulation, economy, other matters. I've seen what law, what regulation, what policy can do to people, and I know what works, and I know what does not work to build up community. That's probably my greatest strength.
Next question will be posed by Mike Engel.
Mr. Tarbell.
Yes, sir.
State of Nevada has approximately $7 billion of unfunded liabilities. What particular things you would do to try to solve that issue?
Unfunded liabilities for pension?
Pensions, unions, everything.
And what would I do as governor to try to solve that?
Right.
First of all, I'd have to look at how we are spending the money that we have. Make sure it's being spent wisely and well. Make sure that the commitments that have been made are somehow honored. We're going to have to look at the entire budgeting process, the entire expense process, and find ways, God help us if necessary, to increase the income in order to cover those liabilities. We can't go into poverty any further.
Our next question will be asked by Amber Diamond.
Taking an honest look at yourselves, what is the biggest problem facing Nevadans today that you can have the biggest impact on? That's all I want to know. Yeah, all done.
As I said before, I have the expertise to create jobs. and I can promise you 100,000 jobs I can create. Secondly, I want to say that I'm going to be shocking you here. The education in Nevada is not bad. White kids graduated at 80%, Asian kids at 84%, Mexican kids at 30%, but you know, that's why they came here illegally, can't speak English. So do we educate them? Absolutely. You can't be running around on the street, not in school. But it takes time. The way America was growing 100 years ago, people from Ireland, from Italy, and everybody couldn't speak English, but eventually life is 80, the expectation is 80 years. You could be ahead. So don't cut you. There's a lot of good teachers, some bad teachers. We need school reforms, we need school choice, and I'm against this $50 million boondoggle for ELL because I think the Mexicans can take care of themselves, the churches and everything, and we're not doing too bad here, and we're spending a lot of money here from the state. It's $8,000 per student, but our county got it from the DNB, from other places. We made $10,000. Washington, D.C. spent $15,000 with only 20% graduation. So the management, current CCSE superintendents are doing a good job. So Nevada is doing a good job in education. Don't believe the propaganda. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Amber. I believe the reason I got involved in the first place is because looking at the statistics across the board, top of every bad category, bottom of every good category, that did not happen overnight. I feel like we've had poor management in the governor position for over 20 years. And I think that with the statistics that I spoke about earlier, with all these statistics that they've spoken about, we need a reform in our government, someone that can put politics aside, clean up the mess. It's like an attic. If you want to clean it, you got to clean the cobwebs out before you put the furniture in it. I feel like that's what we have to do to move forward in this state, and that's what I plan to do. Thank you.
Lack of leadership is the main problem that we have had. We have gone downhill in the last 3.5 years. No new taxes is never leadership. At times you have to have tax, and you have to come to find a way to do it that doesn't harm the middle class and the working people. Again, legalizing marijuana, growing and processing hemp, increasing cigarette taxes can do it. We need to dramatically change our educational system and make sure that everybody can read by the 3rd grade. And gifted education costs no more. You just make every 4th high school a gifted high school. And now we get the kids that are dropping out for being bored and teased. We get them coming into the system and graduating. I went to a gifted high school, 100% graduated, 99% went to college, 1 went to the military. We can do that, and this is not rocket science. Last night I heard Governor O'Malley
Time's up, Dr. Frye. Dr. Frye, thank you, sir. Time's up. We're joined by a 5th candidate, Bob Goodman. Would you repeat your question, please?
I'll try. I said, taking a look at yourself personally, what is the biggest problem facing Nevadans today that you can have the biggest impact on?
Well, first I want to apologize to everybody. I'm really sorry that I got here late, so my credibility may be light. The biggest problem right now is creating jobs, job opportunity, and employment for your career and your life that's all it is. The education is very important, but the creating the jobs and being able to, I think we've got to go out of Nevada. I think we've got to look at international more. That's what I want to focus on for that. So I don't know how many minutes I have, seconds. That's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to see more cooperation with federal officials trying to get something done here for God's sake. We've been talking for 40 years. I was the Economic Development Director under Michael Callahan. And we did all kinds of things that 40 years ago. And we're still sitting here looking at vacant land over there on behind the plaza. And business opportunity for people. So
Mr.
that's my
Goodman,
biggest.
Mr. Goodman, is there a switch on your mic that might be off? We're having trouble picking you up.
Just want to switch mine to
It's on?
It's on.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
the volume.
Put it closer to your mouth when you speak, please.
Right. Okay, and the final respondent to this question is Mr. Tarbell.
As I've looked around Nevada, there are a number of different kinds of problems that need to be tackled by the government. One of them is to develop a rapport and a cooperative spirit among the people of Nevada. That's within our parties, between our parties, between the people of various sectors of this state. We need to develop more cooperation, more communication. That's something I'm pretty good at. And that would be an intention of mine from the get-go, to respect all the sectors of our society here in Nevada.
Thank you. Before we have the next question from Melissa Broadway, who's next in line, I'd like to give Mr. Goodman the opportunity for a 1.5-minute introduction. All the other candidates had a 1.5-minute introduction. So if you please tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself.
We had that.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Yes, you might.
That's the one I had, and it wasn't very well.
Well, that's very lucky to have, thank you, let me do that. And again, I want to spend half of that time apologizing. This is sort of a fun thing to tell you a story. My good friend is sponsoring this, and one of the veterans, is I missed the last one 4 years ago when I ran for lieutenant governor. And I was so sorry about this one. But my background is, I'm almost 80. I've spent the last 20 years in China, between China and Hong Kong, doing the investment programs. I did the first tourism promotion. After that, I was the economic development director in Nevada, Wyoming, Chamber of Commerce managers in 6 cities, I think, over the years, North Las Vegas Chamber manager. And I just want to get something done. I agree totally with William here and everybody else here. We got to get people working. I cannot believe that we as a Democrat, yesterday's Democrat thing had the picture of we're not left out. And even our governor had the fortitude and the gentleman to say that he's proud that we're running. Even our own party doesn't say that. So I'll use my half a minute on that one. But anyways, it's a good group. Whatever happens, we're happy for. Anything I can do to help. Thank you.
Okay, so Melissa Broadway will now pose the next question from the panel.
Okay. Good afternoon. My question is for Mr. Chris. I wanted to ask you about the prison systems here in Nevada. Outside of education, this is something that I feel very passionately about. Obviously, they're overpopulated. What are your specific plan of action to include rehabilitation and education into our prison systems to make sure that when people are coming out of prison, they're the kind of citizens that we want in our community?
For one, I won't be absent from that issue like the current governor. 7 deaths been happening in our prison systems in the last 6 months. Not once has he came up with a solution to fix that or see what's going on. We do have a poor correctional facility. We're under regulations. We're not up to par with the standards where it comes to correctional officers to the care of our inmates. Our medical benefits for our inmates has decreased tremendously over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's time to fund them right. 58% of our inmates are no high school diploma. I feel like a lot of them are not there because they killed someone or sexual assaulted someone, maybe drug issues. I think maybe gang issues, but if we could rehabilitate them and go back to the schools where we had the #1 dropout rate and allow them to speak to the middle schools and high schools in like a big auditorium room, let them know that they've been there, they've done it, that staying in school is the most important thing because hanging out on the corner, they have tattoos, earrings, they have the experience, they should be able to speak to the kids and be that role model. I would respect that person before a guy in a tie saying, stay in school because it's cool, but we do need to rehabilitate them. Thank you.
Our next question will be posed by Jay Giraldi.
Yes, this is for all of you. You can just take turns and give it a response to it. This is in light of the recent news media that was on the ranchers in Nevada. Now that more news has come out from a half a dozen outlets like Reuters and World Net Daily is being the primary one, compiling the information that our Senator Reid pushing for a Chinese electrical company putting solar panels in that very same area where the ranchers are at. It wasn't about a turtle in the first place. And his son also being on one of the boards for that electrical company. What would be your stance in regards to that situation if you were the governor at that time?
Start from the
Yeah, okay.
Please.
Didn't realize you wanted to go from this end first. Uh-oh. Hello? All right. The Bundy situation, I assume, is what you're referring to. All of the developments around that, is that what you're referring to, sir?
Well, if that's what you prefer to focus on, but just in regards to where the rancher is feeding the cattle, predominantly the same area where the solar panels were going to be installed in place of where they were feeding their cattle.
If I were governor now and had been at the time this all began to break, I certainly would be very concerned about the apparent conflict of interest involved in that. I would want to make sure that it's carefully researched. I'd want to know who was responsible for a variety of things that occurred. And I certainly would not want in any way to accept the form of force that was brought to bear in the first place, which created the crisis. That's something that the governor needs to look at closely and make sure does not happen again.
You're next in going.
Yeah, I think I agree totally with William here on that one, and we have to do more, we should have done more, again, 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Check it.
It's not, they're not working.
Just solve the problem.
Well, it was working a minute ago.
They could switch mics with them.
That's what it was, we saw.
Anyway, the conflict of interest on that, and also the idea is we've got to open our federal lands in a better way than we're doing. And again, back to creating jobs and job opportunity here. We're getting more and more people. This all started 200 years ago. Nevada had 50,000 people. Goldfield had more than Las Vegas. So we've got to start looking at that. But this thing coming now is just the beginning of a lot of problems. And as governor, I would do a very strong position of trying to sit down with everybody and say, let's get it solved together.
Thank you. Hello? Yeah, okay. I think the use of force is certainly contraindicated. We don't need another Waco here in Nevada. I think as the governor, a negotiated process would have been much preferable. It's hard for me to believe that with 75% of our land still under federal control and the third ranking Democrat in the nation, Harry Reid, that we still haven't made any progress on turning some of that land over to Nevada that can desperately use it and profit from it and make better use of it in terms of our growth, which is continuing again. So I think we could have handled it a whole lot better than we did.
I think you read my website. No, joking. I do believe when federal government owns 85% of land, there's an issue here. Washington, California, both have, and Utah have both freed up a lot of their percentage of their land back to the states, and we still have not done that. Over 150 years, they still own 85% land. A lot of it's because of the minerals that we hold. They want to make sure they have their hands on it. I don't know about the solar panel thing. It hasn't been confirmed that that's actually the reason, but I do believe we should be able to have our own land rights as a state, and that whole situation became a circus show, and a lot of it's because the governor, again, was hidden from the situation and didn't come in and stop it before it got out of hand.
For starters, let me say that I know the governor. I am a Central Committee member of the Nevada Republican Party as far as Clark County. I've had dinner with the governor's mentioned. He is a nice gentleman, tremendous smile, good-looking guy. So personally speaking, he's a nice guy, but on this issue, because he's so preoccupied with his career, he wants to be U.S. Senator, so he wants to run again. He doesn't want anything to harm him. He was hiding behind his desk. He should have been involved with this the Bunkerville battle, because the issue there is a billing issue. There are two issues. One is billing, one is the bill and access of corruption. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next question will be posed by Rowena Griffithson. Let me remind the panelists that, and I think we're going to have to adhere to get all the rest of the panelists one more shot here. All candidates are yes, no only. Otherwise, direct your question to one of the candidates.
Okay, in a word, this is for all of you. Describe yourself philosophically in a word, not a sentence, not a paragraph.
Constitutional conservative.
One word.
passionate.
Reformer.
What I am? I didn't get the question.
Reformer.
Practical.
Excellent question. Thank you very much. Our next question will be posed by Dr. Danielle Duperret.
I need a mic.
It's mine.
If we were to open Nevada to natural health medical tourism, we could experience a booming economy, new jobs would be created, the population would get healthier, and Medicaid would plummet, among other things. Yes or no to open Nevada to natural health medical tourism?
I'm all for tourism, 100%, yes.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
It's a unanimity. Next question from Dr. Michael Major, not a doctor.
Yeah, MD major, but not a doctor. This question's for Mr. Hamilton. What specific plan would you have to attract businesses to relocate in the state of Nevada or start new business opportunities here in the state?
Thank you very much. You know, last month, the government says in Washington they've recovered 100% of the jobs lost during the recession. I believe that, maybe. And Utah has gotten 130%. 100% plus 30% more. Nevada, 27%. So we don't know how to attract businesses here. Governor Sandoval is a nice-looking guy, nice personality, but totally lacking in executive experience. I have executive experiences. I have built assembly plants, transmission plants, you name it, all over the country and overseas. So I know how to attract people here. And number one, we got to get the land back. Our county, 93% owned by the government. 2 million people here. We're all fighting over 7%. You can't build anything here. We got to get the land back so we can build the thing. Harry Reid and the BLM, he controls the BLM, and Obama, Robert Stem, his Johnny's, he's controlling access. Only for himself, his kids, his family. That is unfair. You got to open the land for ranching, for mining, for factories. You can't build factories with only 1% of the land. Thank you.
Our next question will be posed by Dr. Jasmine Brooks.
This question is neither an endorsement or an opposition to medical marijuana. And the question goes to my colleague, Dr. Frye. As a physician myself, I do have some concerns regarding the fact that medical marijuana is a gateway drug to more aggressive forms of drugs and addiction. What is your position with that, since you do support medical marijuana?
You guys are asking me the best questions. I love it. The government has been lying to us for 75 years. They say marijuana is a dangerous drug. It's not. They say it's addictive. It's absolutely not. They say it's a gateway drug. It's not. They say it has no medical benefit. It's not. These are all lies. 3 independent studies by the British government, the World Health Organization of the United Nations, and as you're familiar, the prestigious Institute of Medicine, have all documented overwhelmingly that marijuana is not a gateway drug. If it was, the incidence of marijuana use in the last 30 years has gone like this. Heroin has stayed at between 3/4 and 1%. So if it was a gateway, we would see a follow-up of all of these other problems. We don't. Unfortunately, the federal government continues to lie to us, and we pay the price for it. It's absolutely positively not a gateway drug. It is safe. I got involved because I saw the incredible medical benefits of it. I'm not interested in people getting high. I'm a medical doctor. My job is treating disease, helping people live their lives the safest possible way. Alcohol kills 88,000 a year. Marijuana rarely, if ever, kills anyone. I haven't had documentation, but as you know in medicine, you never say never and never say always, except to say never say always. So it is not a gateway drug.
Politics, too. Next question will be posed by, I think Brian is next, and then we'll get to John. So Brian.
Yes, thank you. This question is going to be for everybody. Mr. Tarbell, you can go first. I believe that if you want something, you have to go get it. You have to work for it. Nothing is free in this world. Do you think that is acceptable that unemployment lasts 2 years?
That depends on, excuse me,
That depends on the nature of the unemployment, the kind of job you're looking for, and so on. But as a whole, looking at it to try to find employment is a responsibility for anyone who wants to live in our society. They need to try to do that. Dependency is not an option. We need to keep working toward productive lifestyles.
Okay, our last question for the gubernatorial panel.
That was for everybody.
Oh, that was for everybody?
Yeah, it's just yes or no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Unemployment lasting 2 years long. Is that good? Yes or no?
Unemployment, should it last 2 years or longer or not?
I don't think it's, I hope it doesn't last 2 years or longer, and I don't want it to, but it's going to have to until you start being more creative and finding job opportunities. It's a total unbelievable when a state like Nevada would be at this place that it is. I'm only talking about Nevada, I'm not talking about the president. We created 4,000 jobs in 1 year, in 76, 77 with the Ocala administration, by just going out and getting the jobs. So again, you got to.
Time's up. Time's up.
The alternative of unemployment versus a mother living in a car with her kids, I want the unemployment. I took care of these as a volunteer in the homeless shelter in Santa Rosa, California, where I took care of the veterans and the homeless people, and I will go with the unemployment.
It all depends on the situation at hand. If it's a recession, yes, I am. If everything's back to normal, no, I'm not.
It's unacceptable, but you know, there are jobs out there. If you want to move to North Dakota, you can make 80 grand, but we're less mobile because of no incentive, because of dependency. 2 years of unemployment, so we got to get people to go and work. And there are jobs out there, you know, but you got to learn new skills. Skills are changing. Thank you.
Time's up. Expository power of yes, no.
Maybe we
Officer
should take
Shute,
questions.
would you please ask our next question for the gubernatorial candidates?
Okay. This will be another yes or no question. And do you support a bill that will probably be coming before the legislature, your governor, for a fully trained person who's taken classes, has a CCW, to carry their firearm on Nevada University campuses?
Do I support that? Yes.
Yes, sir. You support students bringing a gun to Nevada campuses with the CCW? Right.
I support.
Yes or no?
I can't, I have to say, I have to think of that. I can't give an answer.
Could I have you restate the question, Officer Shute, please?
Sure.
So, in regards to upcoming bill in front of the legislature, if a person's fully trained, taking the courses, CCW, do you support them having the right to carry their firearm as a student or professor at Nevada universities?
I support anything. It's yours. I already answered.
No.
CCW class is very educational, and yes, I do.
As a conservative, the answer is yes. Definitely, the Second Amendment is to protect America from tyranny. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank our. Here she comes. One last question. The reticent and occasionally shy Karen Steele.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you all for joining us here today. Mr. Hyepock, did I say your name correctly?
Yes, you did very well.
You mentioned in one of your answers that the governor didn't do what he should have done in the Bundy Ranch situation. Could you please tell us what he should have done?
Well, he should have came upon the scene, especially when tasering started happening, people getting hit by cars started happening. You know, being behind the desk, making your statement is not the answer. You're the leadership of the state. You got to be the voice of the people of the state, regardless federally wrong or the individual's wrong. You have to come up there and try to make the peace and go down there and fight for your state first, and then you figure out what the issue was in the beginning and the end. But I believe he should have showed up to the scene.
Thank you.
Okay, so one more introduction of our candidates. Please wave when I call your name. All the way down is Bill Tarbell, Bob Goodman, Dr. Stephen Frye, Chris Hyepock, and Eddie in Liberty Hamilton. Thank you all very much to our candidates.